Good morning and welcome to Hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to six, and the general manager of Dan Cummins Chevrolet Buick in Paris, Kentucky, the second largest used car franchise dealer in the United States of America. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, boys. Good morning, girls. It is Tuesday, March 6th. I had to look. They all start to run together every once in a while. It is Tuesday, March 6th. I am so happy you're here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Today, we are going to continue to dive in a little bit to this underdog story of this tiny little dealership in this tiny little town that went from selling 120 cars a month to selling 850 cars a month, that currently, right now, today, in the first 4 days of the month, has 200 cars out. We're going to dive into this story a little bit more, but before we do, I got to say good morning to my boy Sean Jones. I got to say little fist bump to my boy Gary Pollard. What's up, Gary Pollard? Good morning, Aaron Jones. Good morning, Joseph Smith. Good morning, Melvin Rodriguez, Brandon Cohen, Susan Rowe, Mark Littleton, Kyle Whalen, Tom Sizemore, Troy Cord, Eric Mitchell, Jeffrey Lee Parton. There's a ton of y'all up in here on a Tuesday morning. How's everybody doing today? Let's all stand up real quick. Come on. Let's all stand up. Whatever you're doing. If you're laying down, I need you to stand up. Let's stand up real quick. Let's go. Yeah. 5:30 Tuesday morning. Come on. Throw some likes in there. Throw some hearts in there. Get your body in motion. Let's get the activity going. Let's get the brain pumping. Let's go. Let's go. I love it. Loving hashtag Rise and Grind. Love the group. Love you. Good morning. Who else is up in here? Ray Hatcher came up in here. Ricardo, Beth Workman, Laura Saba Berman. What's up? What's up? What's up? Everybody, good morning. So check it out, man. Check it out. At Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick, we are on a mission to sell 1,000 cars this month. Now, 1,000 cars, so you guys know, is a ridiculous amount of cars, okay? It's ridiculous. It's so many cars. I mean, if you do math, you break it down, we're talking 12 hours a day, and you got to average, 40 cars a day, 12 hours a day. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy. And what's even crazier is the fact that we're even talking about selling 1,000 cars at a car dealership that exists in a tiny little town of about 9,600 people. So I yesterday talked a little bit about Sam Cummins, right? We talked about Sam Cummins and how back in 1956, Sam Cummins decided to just take a leap, even though he's a guy just like you and I that puts his pants on one leg at a time. He decided to take a leap, not knowing that 60 plus years later, this dealership was going to be part of his legacy, not knowing that 60 years plus later that a guy like me was going to be able to get an opportunity to work there, and not knowing that 60 plus years later, there'd be a dealership that's potentially going to sell 1,000 cars in a month, okay? He just took a leap, made a decision, and that's what we talked about yesterday, is sometimes we just have to dive in, right? We just got to follow our dreams and our passions even when it doesn't make sense. We just got to go after it. So after talking about Sam yesterday, I thought, man, we need to tell the rest of this story. Because Sam was the first owner. He owned it from 1956 until the mid-'70s. Well, then in the mid-'70s, Dan, which is the name of the dealership, Dan Cummins, took over. So Dan bought the dealership from his dad and took over as the new owner. Now, this period of time, Dan Cummins was incredibly successful, okay? He was incredibly successful. He ran the dealership for, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s. I mean, he ran the dealership for 30 plus years. He kept it a thriving business. He kept it up and going. Even in the crash of 2008, he was able to carry him through that. Okay, they were able to stay in business, and they were selling roughly 100 to 120 cars a month. And so something that we learned from Dan, okay, is because he would do the same thing, day in and day out. There was everything in the industry back then. They kind of had these road shows that they would do. They had these big sales that they would do, and these people could come in and they would help them sell cars. And so we definitely learned from Dan that if we do the same, because they kind of did the same stuff for years and years and years, they can sustain. If we do the same, we can sustain in business. And he also followed kind of the same model that everyone else did. A lot of other dealerships did things a certain way, and they were ahead of the curve. Don't get me wrong. They were selling 100 to 120 cars a month in a very small town. So they were definitely ahead of the curve. Okay. But they were kind of falling in line, doing some of the same things that all the other dealers were doing. And so we also learned from Dan in his period of time that if we do the same day in and day out, we can definitely sustain. And if we kind of follow the models and do what everyone else does, then we can also sustain our business for 30 plus years or so. But we do have to understand that if we follow what everyone else does, if we do the same thing that everyone else does, then we're going to get the same thing that everyone else gets, which is average results, a little bit above average results. Again, I'm not knocking Dan at all. I mean, what they did, being able to run a dealership for 30 plus years in a tiny little town, selling 100 cars a month is incredible. It's amazing. It's amazing. But I just want to look at it and analyze and learn, because that's what we do here on the Rise and Grind, right? Is we look and we analyze and learn. So Dan was able to do the same thing. They were kind of doing the same thing day in and day out, and they were able to sustain business for 30 plus years. Thank God, because if it wasn't for Dan and his sustainability, then I wouldn't have this opportunity to have this job that I have today. Now, he was also following the model, doing what other people do, which is a note that we need to take. We can always follow the models. We can look at other people in the industry. We can figure out what we're doing or what people around us are doing, and we can follow those models, and we can learn a lot, right, to make sure that we have sustainability. And that's exactly what Dan did. He did it for 30 plus years. So now, my question for you, and the question that we're going to answer this morning, I hope you guys are following this. This is some deep stuff. The question we're going to answer this morning is what happened, why did it go from Dan Cummins, where he was sustaining and he was doing a great job and he was following the model, how did we go from that dealership that was selling 120 cars a month to here we are 7 years later, from when Dan sold it to his sons, Josh and Dusty Cummins, and here we are 7 years later, and we're on a march to 1,000. We're on a march to 1,000. How the heck does that happen? How do you go from 120 to 1,000? How do you take your business, whether it be the auto industry or any other industry, how do we take that? How do we take what we're currently doing? How do we take it and we blow it up? How do we take it and just blow it up 10 times? Because literally that's going to be 10 times, right? Just about. He was selling 100, 120 cars a month. Now we're going to sell 1,000, right? 10 times. And this is in 7 years since Josh and Dusty bought it. So that's what I want to share with you guys this morning. Now listen, here's the part of the story where I come in, okay? This is the fun part of the story for me. Okay, we've got the history. We know Sam owned the dealership and did a great job of sustaining it. We know that Dan took over and was able to run a dealership and sustain it in a small town and do a great job for 30 years. We know that. Then all of a sudden, Josh and Dusty come in. All of a sudden, two new guys come in 2011. And the place blows up. Oh, my gosh, we got to take a peek at this. We all need to stop. We need to listen. We need to go, wait a minute. What the heck happened? How was this dealership in business for 55 years or however many years it was? It was 56. Yeah, the dealership was in business for 55 years. And then all of a sudden in the last 6, they get 10 times their growth. Is that interesting to you guys? Does that sound interesting to you guys? Because it's interesting to me. It's incredibly interesting to me. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a stay-at-home mom. I don't care if you're out there selling real estate. I don't care if you're, you're a fitness person. I don't care what it is you're doing. When you experience something like that, you got to take a look. You got to go, wait a minute. All right, what was different? What was different? How and why did it change 56 years later? And that's what I'm going to share with you guys today, okay? Josh and Dusty Cummins took over the dealership, right? Josh and Dusty take over. And I meet them 11 days after they actually officially bought the store from their dad is when I met them. And I went in, guys, I'm telling you, when I walked in, I was on a mission, okay? I was absolutely on a mission. I had just found out that my girlfriend, not even my wife at the time, my girlfriend was pregnant, had a kid on the way. We had stuff to do, okay? We had stuff to do. And so I had to get this job, and I was on a mission. I knew I was going to be a manager. I had to be a manager at the dealership because I had already put in my 7 years in at this other dealership. I'd been a salesman. I'd been a finance person. I'd been a GSM. I'd been all of that stuff. And so I went to Josh and Dusty, and I met Josh and Dusty on a Saturday night. It was a Saturday night at 6:30 at night. They were the last two. They were closing up the dealership, and I walked in, and I gave them the power presentation. You guys know how I am. You guys listen to me every morning. You know I can turn it up and I can turn it on. And so I said, look, man, my name is Glenn Lundy. Like that's supposed to mean something to them, right? I said, look, my name is Glenn Lundy. I ran a store in Flagstaff, Arizona. I did this. I was always the top salesman. I've got finance experience. I've got sales manager's experience. I've got GSM experience. I've got all the experience that you ever could imagine. And you, sir, you, Josh Cummins, you, Dusty Cummins, you need me to be a part of your organization. If you want to get to the next level, you can't do it without me. That was the pitch I gave him. And Josh Cummins looked me in the face, and he nodded, and he said, that's great. What was your name again? I said, my name is Glenn Lundy. He said, that's great, Glenn Lundy. We don't need any managers in this dealership. However, you're welcome to sell cars if you'd like. Instantly knocked me down a peg, man. He instantly knocked me down a peg. And he humbled me because I was in a position where I didn't have a right to be barking around, barking orders, telling people what they needed and who they needed it from. Am I kidding? At that point in my life, I could barely pay my bills. At that point in my life, I could barely sustain a relationship. At that point in my life, I was not the greatest guy in the world. And here I was out there freaking, yeah, I'm the man. And I was humbled in an instant by Josh and Dusty Cummins. And I will tell you this right now, I've been working with those guys for 7 years. And that was, they've been teaching me lessons ever since. Both Josh and Dusty teach me lessons every single day. But the very, 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 very first lesson that Josh ever taught me in the very first 5 minutes of me knowing him is that you are never better than anyone else. I don't care what you do. I don't care how long you've done it. I don't care your experience level. I don't care about any of that. Listen to me and listen to me very, very, very clearly. The sooner that you can get this, the sooner that you can start to blow up and 10 times your business is you are never better than anyone else. And I'm talking on a personal level. I'm talking on a God level. I'm talking on a people who snub their nose at other people and think they're better than them. You are never better than anyone else. Everyone on this planet, every single human being on this planet adds value. Every single human being on this planet was God created for a reason to make a difference in this universe, and you're no better than any of them. And that's the very first thing that Josh and Dusty taught me. Humility, folks. And they continue to carry it through. You want to know how they've 10x their business in 7 years? They've 10x their business in 7 years because they are the most humble beings I've ever met in my life. You notice Glenn Lundy's the one who's always in the post. Glenn Lundy's the one who's always in the pictures. Glenn Lundy's the face of the dealership. You don't really see Josh and Dusty Cummins very much, do you? No, because they're the most humble guys on the planet, man. They realize they're not any better than anybody else. I see Josh walking around the dealership all the time. He's cleaning, picking up trash and fixing stuff. And Dusty, man, he's at work at 7:30 in the morning and he works till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, and they're just humble beings. It's amazing. So as I continue to, you know, spend more time with Josh and Dusty and we continued to start and grow the dealership, it just became so clear that humility is a human being's best quality. It's one of my big takeaways for you this morning, man. Humility is a human being's best quality. It is such a it's sometimes really hard, you know. I was talking to my buddy Lou yesterday about this, and sometimes it's just hard. As a human being, we start to, you know, think, of course we want rewards and we want pat on the backs and we want to feel better about ourselves and we want to think that we're doing something, we want to think that we're making a difference and you know, so we have all these things and we have egos and pride, and sometimes you have to have confidence, and so sometimes it's hard to stay away from these self-serving thoughts, and sometimes very, very hard to stay humble. But my lesson for you today is humility is a human being's best quality. When I was at GrowthCon last week and all these guys stood up there and they talked about all the things that they did, they were the most humble people on the planet. They were just so full of humility. Yes, they had confidence. Yes, they were pros. Yes, they knew their trades inside and out, but they didn't think for an instant that they were any better than you or me. Not for an instant. So with their humility, teaching me humility and making sure everyone around them is humble, they have been able to 10x their business. The other thing that Josh and Dusty have done is they have been absolute servant leaders. And here's what I've learned in the last 7 years. Your servant leaders build the strongest troops, man. Think about that. Servant leaders build the strongest troops. Do you want to get a bunch of guys behind you? You want to get a bunch of followers? You want to get a bunch of teammates that will go over the top for you? Do you want to get people that will stand in front of you and take a bullet? Do you want to get the biggest and the strongest and the baddest boys on the planet? Then I'm telling you, become a servant leader. Serve your people, wash their feet, and watch what they'll do for you. Golly, that's something I've watched Josh and Dusty Cummins do. You want to know how they 10x their business in the last 7 years? They're the most servant leaders on the planet, dude. Josh Cummins is back to working 6 days a week. He's killing me. I'm like, Josh, you're killing me. He's there, man. He's there, 8:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock at night. He's starting to work on Saturdays. He's coming in working 5 or 6 hours on Saturdays, just wanting to run around and sprinkle the magic everywhere, man. And this just servant leaders. Look, if you are trying to 10x your business, if you want to grow, whether it be, I don't care, whether it's fitness, I don't care. If you want to be a better, you want to be a better stay-at-home mom. If you just want things to change, then you have to do these things. You have to understand you're not better than anyone else out there, okay? That we all add value. Your kids are adding value to your life. The people that you're working with at the fitness place are adding value to your life. The customers that you're working with on a daily basis are adding value to your life. You have to understand that everyone has value. Then you have to be humble. Humility. No matter how good you are, be humble. No matter how much of a pro you are, be humble. Just be humble. And then if you want to build a team that's gonna grow 10 times, you want to build a team that's gonna grow 10 times like we've done at Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick in Paris, Kentucky, then you've got to just be a servant leader, man, all the time. Just have a mind for servitude. Dude, I am telling you, I have watched this dealership grow. I know the history of this store. It is incredible. For 56 years, the dealership basically was same. Sam started it. Dan ran it. They didn't break outside the box at that point. They didn't go outside the mold at that point. They kind of followed. They did what everyone else was doing, and they were getting results that everyone else got. A little bit above average. And don't get me wrong, if your object and your goal is to strictly sustain, if you want to sustain, Dan was the master at sustaining. He took care of people. For 30 plus years, he took care of people. He treated everyone like they were special, like they were important, like they were the only one. He did it for 30 years, and he was able to sustain. But if you are looking to 10x, if you are looking to blow up your business, if you want to go from selling 100 cars to selling 1,000 cars, then that's where we have to learn from Josh and Dusty Cummins, who within 5 minutes of me meeting them, humbled me. They taught me about humility. They have shown me day in and day out what it looks like to be a servant leader. They are the change. They have inspired followers. They have inspired their troops to step up, to rise up, and to take this dealership to a whole nother level. Be humble. Serve others, and understand that you are no better than anyone else out there, folks. We all add value. We are all created by God, uniquely created by the God of all. We have been created in his image to be creators, to be the best version of us that we can be. I mean, you guys have to understand, man. Right now, you're a part of an elite group. You are part of an elite group of people who choose to rise and grind. The positivity that you guys are putting out in the world with your posts and your comments and just your overall attitude, that energy that you are putting out in the world, it is contagious to your family members, to your friends, to your coworkers, to everyone around you. You are making an impact on this planet. You are making a difference. You are rewriting history. You are breaking the mold. You are becoming the change. You are outside the box. It is you. You are special. You are important. And I, for one, love you. I love you. Thank you guys so much for all your encouraging words, man. Mickey sent me a book yesterday. It's just awesome. What's going on in this group is awesome. To continue to invite people to the group. We have to get as many people into this as possible, man. People need this in their life. The world needs this. So continue to invite people to the group. Continue to share the feeds. Get your gear. Go now, today. Get online. GlennLundy.com. Get yourself some Rise and Grind gear, man. Get yourself some gear. Post some pictures. Wear it proudly. That way people can start asking you, what's that all about? And you can tell them, look, I'm part of an elite group of people who choose to rise and grind. And I now am going to wrap my arms around you humbly because I want to continue to lift you up. So I'm going to wrap my arms around you and I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to bring you in and we're going to create a movement that's going to change the way you look at things. It's going to change the way you start your day. So get your gear. If you need more videos, go to youtube.com/inthebeginninginspiration. There's over 100 plus videos on that website. You can get as much motivation and inspiration as you need. And of course, I already told you, go get your gear at GlennLundy.com. Most importantly, though, I need you to come back and see me tomorrow, okay? I'll be back here tomorrow, 5:30 a.m. Tomorrow is exciting. Okay, tomorrow we are supposed to, I believe, we're going to air on Deanne Stevens. She's doing a segment. Deanne Stevens, she just won a Country Music Award for Broadcaster of the Year, and I believe we're going to air on her show tomorrow. I'll confirm that, and I'll let you guys know. But tomorrow's going to be a big day. We've got some exciting stuff, so make sure you come back and see me tomorrow. I need you to have a phenomenal day. I need you to have an incredible day. I need you to have a fantastic, over-the-top, unbelievable Tuesday. I need you to make today the most incredible Tuesday you've ever had in your entire life, because it is Tuesday, March 6th, 2018, the first and only time it will ever be this beautiful day. So make sure you take advantage. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go play basketball with the boys, even though they told me I'm not supposed to. I'm going to go play basketball with the boys today. Anyway, love you guys. Have a great day. See ya. Maybe.